And hello, everybody. It is the Network Marketing Leadership Show. I hope you are having the best day ever. I finally get to be. I was with Richard Brooke and Mark J this morning, and it was so boring. And I didn't want to do it, but I had to just to placate those guys because I wanted to be with you guys. And I had a chance to. So I'm just killing time for an hour. It's so endless. And Brooke is just blowing on and on and on. And I'm going, this has got to end soon so I can go get with Al Bala and Tony Jeary, and I love these guys because they're thought leaders, and so is Richard Brooke, an amazing, amazing human being. And he wrote an intro for this show today that if I'll ever get my phone, Adrian's sharing on my wall right now, but I want to read this introduction to Al Bala because I couldn't have said what Richard Brooke wrote in a comment better than what I just can't believe it. He wrote back, here's what I can say about Al. 20 years ago, if Al and I were in a CEO mastermind group at the DSA, 90% of the CEOs would have built their own MLM giant team, up in the company of which they were the CEO. Today in the same group, there might be 5% that have built what they manage. Al is a network marketing leader extraordinaire with massive global and hands-on recruiting and building experience of almost 40 years. And he is the CEO of a massively growing global public MLM company. He is a breath of rarefied air, the real deal, authentic network marketing leader guiding his company to greatness. We need more Al Balas out there. And I could not agree more. But Al Bala would not be where he is without Tony. So this is the greatest show ever. And so I am so happy about that because I love you guys. And Al, you look like a hockey stick with hair. It looks to me like you have worked out many days in a row on that crazy Peloton machine, sweating your ass off. And I'm very, very proud of you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I have 16 days in a row.
Unbelievable. So tell us a story. What do you think of what's going on out there in the world of network marketing?
Well, I would say, and by the way, I'm honored to be on the same show with Mr. Tony Jeary. They call him the results guy, but he's also the coach to CEOs. Been my coach for 13 years now. Directly or indirectly, so it's great to be on the same show with Mr. Tony Jeary. So
agree, buddy. Agree.
And I'm glad you guys are going to get to hear from him because I think there's a lot of nuggets there. And Adrian and Tom, you guys are family, so love you guys. And what's going on in network marketing? Well, I've been in it 41 years. I've done it in about 60 different countries. So I think it gives me a little bit of a perspective. And by the way, without bragging, yesterday was my first board meeting with the DSA and the SCF, so I'm glad to also be able to contribute to the continued betterment of our industry because I really believe this is an amazing industry. I am a complete product of this industry, and myself, my family, my next generations are impacted by this amazing, beautiful industry that we are part of. And I would say that in 41 years, I know, Tom, this is going to sound cliche, but I've never been more excited about what we have our hands on than I am right now. I'm literally still like a kid with a new toy because this thing keeps shifting and changing and adapting. But in my mind, at least in my mind, every technology in advancements, everything that's happened in the world in general has only made this thing more viable, this industry more viable, more accessible, and more rewarding than ever in the history of this industry, at least the 41 years I've been part of it. And I don't say that. I know those are big statements, and I don't say that just for a fact. I say that because I believe that. And I couldn't be having a better time than I am right now with an iconic company that's been around 27 years, been through all the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, had our challenges and the wins and the losses and so on. But at the end of the day, we're sitting here and going, man, we are at the tipping point of something huge. But that's not just true about my company. It's true about the entire industry. You look at the numbers. right? Both the the DSA USA numbers, or the World Federation of Direct Selling, all the numbers are up. Why is that? Because our model is viable, and it's viable for time such as this. Now, for those of us involved in the wellness industry, couldn't be a better time. Probably one of the fastest segments in the industry, but that's true also about a lot of other verticals in our space. But the way the changes have happened, the way we work, the way we buy, the way we sell, the way we learn, all of those things really culminate to probably what's going to be the renaissance of network marketing. And that's with all the other winds that are blowing against us, and I understand them, reputation and all those things, it's true, but we are sitting in a really good place for those of us who choose to believe it is a good place. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be what we choose to believe. Well, I choose to believe that we're at the tipping point of the greatest growth in our industry we've ever seen. So, anyways, that's kind of my little perspective on it, but I stand on it.
Well, let's go to the mentor to the millionaires and the movie stars, Tony Jeary. Let me ask you this, Tony. Well, actually, Al, I want to ask you this. As good as you are, with the reputation you've got, with the mentors that you had at Amway, with the career that you had at Amway, with what you did at Amway, why in the heck, I almost said heck, would you need a coach for 14 years like Tony? How is it that you even do that? Tell us about him a little bit.
Well, Tony has a saying, which I love. It says, everybody has a next level.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about that, but we all have a next level we can play at. But that next level is determined by the books you read, right? The information that you assimilate, and the voices that are speaking into your mind, into your heart, into your brain, into your soul. We all need a coach to get to that next level. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what you've achieved. If you want to get to that next level, you need a coach. And Tony has been that coach for me in terms of being able to give me not only the mindset, but also on a very practical point. Tony is the master at strategy, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. And he's helped me to be more strategic about what I do. He's taught me the magic of clarity, focus, and execution, which is a book I still have behind me. It's kind of a Bible of the business. But he's a master of that, and helping you and helping your teams to be able to get to that place where you have clarity, focus, and then giving you the tools to execute. That's Mr. Tony Jeary.
I love the guy. Hello, Tony. How are you, buddy?
Great, Tom. Man, you guys got some energy today.
Well, we love our life, man, and we love you, and we think that you too are really becoming the benchmark of integrous growth in the network marketing space. And the reason I say that is you're not chasing a bunch of shiny pennies. You're not second guessing yourself. You've got a plan that you're executing. And when I asked Al Bala about that, he said you need to talk to Tony. And I really was interested in that answer. And that's why you and I had that conversation that day. But you are a beast, sir. You have done some unbelievable things with a lot of companies, not just Al's. And it's exciting. So talk about you a little bit, if you don't mind, sir.
I love helping people win, Tom. God's really blessed me. I've had a lot of experiences, ups and downs, and I love helping people win. I love it. I love it. I love it. All the time, I love helping people win. Getting in those minds, helping them think, helping them do just what Al said, more clarity, more focus, more execution. Tom, I'll tell you a story that kind of connects the dots to what Al just said. Years ago, I had, by the way, I've had the same coach, Tom, for 35 years. Same guy, 35 years. I meet with him tomorrow at 4:30, 35 years. And in 1989, he called me up. You may not know this, Al. He called me up. He says, hey, you need to meet Zig Ziglar. And I said, well, I'll call him up. Go meet him. He said, we can't just call Zig up and go meet him. I said, well, let's just try. So I call him up, call his office. I called my coach back. I said, I'm having dinner at his house on Sunday, this Sunday. He's like, how did you do that? And so I end up with Zig in 1989 at his home. And we stayed up till 1:30 in the morning. Al, I don't know if you knew this or not.
No.
And what had happened, Tom and Adrian, is they made a mistake. They thought I was in a Sunday school class. And I called up and I got an invite. And I'm not kidding you. I didn't lie about it. It just happened. And he and I developed a relationship. Ends up, I hire his president to be my president. And he's the guy that gave me clarity, focus, and execution. So Zig's president ends up becoming my president and says, Tony, you're all about helping people think. And at the core of what you do is you help people get more clear, more focused, and execute better. Yep. There's the story.
Wow. That is so cool. And so, Tony, I love helping people win. That's a great statement. And I can feel your energy that it's like that's in your DNA. Where does that come from for you?
My dad. Yeah, my dad, like you and your dad. It's so cool seeing you guys right there. You know, I got to work with my dad at 18. We ended up becoming partners and doing just what you guys are doing there. And my dad and I were partners. He passed away a few years ago, and he taught me to serve people, pour into people, do great things for people. And, you know, you guys have it, right? And that's where it came from for me. My dad told me, help people win, help people win, help people win. And that's just like in my DNA from being born and all the way I was raised, you know.
That's so cool. And do you have kids, Tony?
What's that, Adrian?
Do you have any kids?
I do. My kids are absolutely unbelievable, Adrian. Unbelievable.
Are they working in your business with you?
Well, they just do a little bit, Adrian. Tom, what they did is this. My kids are 24 and will be 25 next week, the youngest one, and 28. And I wrote the first book with each one of them when they were 8 years old. I did the first Apple app with them when they were 12. And my oldest daughter's a graphic artist, and she designs books for me. She designed this one. This is my newest one out. She designed that cover. And then my youngest one does the photography for me. So both of them have their independent deal, and yet we do a little bit of business, both with photography and graphic artists. And so that works out just really great. And they are just
take your family to work day. You know, I don't even know if I liked him when he was working in corporate America. Now he's working with me every day, and he's not this.
Now you really don't know.
Oh no, he's my boss.
Told me he runs you, Tom. He told me
he's my boss. It's unbelievable, but I'll tell you, I would rather have him for a bad boss than 99% of the good bosses out there, and he's actually a good boss. We're going to come back right after this. We're on the Genesis Communication Network. Thank you, Ted Anderson. We'll be right back. All right. What a fun first segment. I love that, and I love the connection with your dad, Tony. That's so cool. So we're going to have some fun.
Yep.
So
just like you guys.
Yeah.
Tony's the results guy, and he said, well, where are you the producer of the show? Where do you fit? And I said, I'm the contact mapping guy. And so, what is contact mapping? It is basically Tom Chenault in the palm of your hand, which just doesn't sound like a very good sales pitch, but it's true. Because what we did, you know, you talked about your dad, right? I watched my dad build his empire. I watched him from getting divorced, getting sober, you know, really being at rock bottom and climb to the very top. And I had the front row seat. I joke sometimes that I have a passenger seat MBA in sales from just listening to one half of my dad's conversations for all those years.
Isn't that cool?
And what he has done is remarkable. And he's done it with heart. And he's done it with humor. And he has done it with saying what is on his mind. And you just don't know what's going to come out of his mouth yet. And both of you guys have experienced that, I know. And that's a great thing. What a way to go through life.
Do you know how I got connected to your dad?
How?
Al calls me up and says, you have this like giant database, and you really have to know about Tom. I want to show you something, okay? I got something behind you. I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
So I have a list.
Look how fit he is.
I know, man.
38,000 connections. 38,000.
Holy mackerel.
Al says, there's this guy that has this unbelievable way that you can remember people. And I was like, really? Right, Al?
Yes, absolutely.
What'd you tell me?
And I told you, strategic remembering. Somebody's got to write a book about that.
And I'm telling you, it's just like so many people don't really get, right, Tom, the value of being able to have the first off, you got to want to help people. Then you got to connect with people. Then you got to remember them. And if you have a system for it, it's just like gold, right?
Yeah. If you remember, ask. They know an ask is coming, but if you ask, if the only time you ever call anybody is to ask, you're dead. But if you constantly call and ask, oh, those 2 kids of yours, I love that graphic design idea. You know, you constantly remember what Tony's favorite subject is, which is his children. That's all you have to do, everybody, is just have a doctorate in remembering, and you don't have to have it in a giant box anymore or in your terrible memory. We actually have the answer to that because, yeah, exactly right. And it's so beautiful and it works, and you've killed it. I mean, you've created something magic with his PhD from MIT partner that I did not go to college with.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we had 2 important pieces of the puzzle. We had the model and the inspiration. We had the business and product guy, but we needed somebody that could build this to be something that is going to last generations. And our third partner, Rick Manelius from MIT, is that guy. He's truly the smartest human I've ever worked with, and I have worked with some really smart people. And he believes in what we're doing on a level you can't believe. And that combination is unstoppable. And so I want to invite you to check it out if you haven't done that before. If you go to contactmapping.com/app, you can go and get started completely for free. No credit card, no nothing. And it'll change your life if you let it. So we're coming back now.
And we're back. It's the Network Marketing and Leadership Show. We have got an unbelievable show for you today. We've got some smart son of a guns that just want to get smarter. And it's Al Bala and Tony Jeary. And here's the deal about this. These guys, Tony Jeary literally has employees that read books for him and then give him a book report. So then he reads the synopsis from people he loves and trusts. And after that, he'll decide if he's going to go read the book. So when he's on the show, or on the phone with me one day, he goes, tell me the books that you love the most, Tom. And I gave him the books. And he said, perfect. I'll have my guys read them. And if I like what they read, I'll read them. And I go, this is the craziest deal. I've never dealt with people like this before.
You want to see one of my team members?
They don't even read it, much less have an employee. Look at that. Those people are all reading the books. Hello, stop waving, keep reading. So it's so exciting. And what's so fun about that, and my new favorite book is a book called Who Not How. And if you haven't read that book by a guy named Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sorensen. And I am telling you guys, Who Not How is going to change your life. So have those poor kids over there start reading and then tell Al what it's about. You guys read it. Yeah, look at that. That is so hysterical.
Yeah, send me the report.
Yeah, but that's my new favorite book. Who Not How. Put it in the comments. But yeah, I'm in love with these guys because they're at the top of the mountain, everybody, and they're still learning. The lesson in it is that they're at the top of the mountain and they're still learning. It might be the top of the mountain, but it's not the top. And these 2 know it. And I love you. And I love you. And I love you. So ask them a smart question now.
So that's a pretty interesting thing that you do. So let's go down that rabbit hole a little further, Tony. So how do you take information from, you have these people vet these books, and then you're trying to move information and distill it to be able to coach it to these huge leaders? What does that look like?
All right. So I just came out with a new little book that I'm working on called Are You Coachable? Okay. And so when people like Al come into my life, Al's a very busy man, and he hears your dad say, hey, there's this cool book. Here's a summary, by the way. Look at that. Ready? I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, look, he's on.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. That's so crazy cool.
My team just did it for me. And so when people like Al come into my life and they are coachable, because a lot of people aren't, then what they really want is they want to have access to the best minds, not just my mind, but the best minds And just like I do what you said is I decide if I'm going to read the book, I look at the summary. If I'm going to recommend a book to Al, I'm going to say, Al, here's the summary. Why don't you see if you think it justifies you reading the book? And then Al can say, oh, I'm busy. I'll take a few minutes and read over the summary, and then I'll make a decision. Do I put more energy into watching the video or reading the book? Right, Al?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, some of us actually love books. I mean, we love reading, but you just can't get to enough of them. I got like 6 different titles on my table right now. So that is, trying to distill it down to what really is important, because I think we have an overabundance of information today. So I think what Tony's done is found a very efficient way to process information, to distill the wisdom that's out there, get through the fluff. We've all gone through books that we know there's always going to be, fluff in there, but there's always a gem. If you can get to those gems faster, that's an amazing service that Tony does for his clients, and also a technique that I think everyone on the call should use. I mean, I have a lot of different services I use for getting summaries on book, because that for me is what I mean. I want to get to the essence of the book fast, assimilate it, and then be able to use it as soon as I can. And that's a great system to do it.
Yeah, let me, something I think would be interesting, Adrian, if you don't mind, I'd like to add on to what we're talking about here that I think could be valuable for our listeners. I really studied really heavy in the last couple of years. When you're bringing value to Al, to my client, to a CEO, when you're bringing value to anybody, wherever you're training, if there's leaders that are listening today and you're saying, I want to bring value to my team. If you're a corporate leader, you're a field leader, and you're listening today or in the future from a recording, what we want you to think about is these 4 levels. And level 1, when you get new information, is you get perspectives. In our model, it looks like this. Can you go to the summary here? It looks just like this. You get perspectives, and that's the level playing field, just perspectives. Ultimately, though, what you want to go to the next level, Tom, is you want to go to angles so that the angle applies to you. What you ultimately, though, want to do when you're sharing a book or a concept is you want ahas and epiphanies, where you go, wow, that book from Dan is so incredible. If you can just think the title, like not just how do you get it done, but who can get it done for you. That's an epiphany for some people. And so if you are really kind of at the top of your game, you're looking for people that can bring epiphanies into your life. Right, Al? Where all of a sudden you go, man, that's a life-changing idea, not just a perspective.
You guys are going to be really happy, but we're taking another break. We're coming back right after this. This is the Network Marketing Leadership Show. All right, we're back. And so here's the deal. With real radio, we go up to that satellite now up there in Minnesota, and it goes out to 550 radio stations, but they've got a clock that is like a Bible. So you've got to make sure that, and right now they're doing some sort of survival ad that people are jumping out of their cars having to listen to. So we just have fun in the commercials. You can cuss, you can get real, you can say hi to Doug Stair and Lisa Grossman and Julie Hegstrom and Pierre, some guy from France. It's exciting. And so Chad Williams, it's just beautiful to be able to go out there and during the commercials and have some fun and actually plug contact mapping a little bit, because they're our only sponsor that doesn't pay.
That's exactly right. I'm gonna double the fee this month.
You know what I love about Tony though? Give us a little pan of your office again. Would you mind doing that with the guy on the computer down there? So what I love about his office is he's not in some ivory tower there. That's a conference table that goes down about 40 miles, and he's got everybody in there, and they are think tanking and working together and interacting versus all that other jazz that everybody thinks that they have to have where they're insulated. You people are people, collaborators, thought leaders, working together to make the world better, which I love, which is what we're all about. And he hit the nail on the head. It's all about remembering. And you did it. Thank you.
So Tony, you have how many contacts? 38,000? Is that what you said?
38,000.
So that doesn't happen. You don't meet that many people and acquire that many contacts, and you certainly don't hold on to that many people on accident. you have done something right and you have done it on
Well,
purpose.
keep in mind too, Abraham, that not every contact in my database is my best friend,
Of course.
right? What I've done though is what your dad's done over the years. My dad taught me to do this, probably like he taught you, is to be very intentional about taking notes of the people you meet and what their priorities are. And I'm very fortunate to have quite a few assistants. And so before I even knew about your software guys, I'm like going, yeah, I have my team member that are helping me, but a lot of people don't have the team that I have. And to have a tool like you guys have, that's pretty powerful, right? To have a tool. And I'm telling you, man, I'm all about rich relationships, rich life. You want to win, you got to have a lot of contacts. You got to have a lot of relationships, and you got to pour into people. And you got to pour into people about what they care about, right, Al? It's not just like what you care about, it's what they care about.
Well, it's
So
what
cool
Tom
this
talked
morning.
about.
Go ahead, Dal.
No, I was just saying, it's what you talked about. It's remember. And then maybe ask, but it's the idea that, and Tom does this beautifully, and then he lives it. I mean, I'll get notes from Tom. I'm pretty much a clockwork, and he says, "I love you, Al." That's it.
It might actually be clockwork.
It's right. Maybe it is clockwork, actually, but it's not some cornball form letter. You know, it's never ever
it's not.
same. It's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, at that moment, I talk about Peloton. I'm going to talk about Tony wrapping the bus. I'm going to talk about something that Tony remembers about Tony that he doesn't know I remembered, because I need to, another thing that's my new secret weapon, Tony, that you can put in your next book because you stole it from me, is you have to remind people that you remember. Not only do you need to do that, because people just kind of take it for granted because they're so great in their own mind that you have to remind them that nobody else is remembering all the things about that you do. And I've been doing that recently in conversation, and it's kind of funny because they're almost taken aback, like, no shit, I can't believe, and you can cuss in the commercials. And so it's pretty cool because we don't have the FCC or anything after us. Go.
You know, I didn't get to tell you this. So we were at a big networking event this morning. I walk in there. We were the sponsors of the event. So I'm setting up the table. And this guy walks up and he goes, I know about your program. Okay, cool. That's awesome. How'd you hear about it? He goes, who's in charge of that thing? And I kind of said, well, I'm pretty sure I am. But I bet you must have met my dad. And he goes, oh yeah, your dad's Tom. And I said, yeah. And he goes, man, I met him like 5 or 6 months ago at this thing. And he texts me all the time. And you know, it's one Al Bala, you know, everybody wants a piece of Al. That's cool, but a lot of people, because you're famous, because you're such a great guy, there's a lot of people wanting your attention. This guy was like, I couldn't believe, I went, he does? It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. And he was like, yeah, we talk all the time.
How much time does it take to say to somebody, I love you, I hope you're having a great day, and I hope I can send you some business at your air conditioning place? That's all I say. You know, I look at their notes, figure out who the hell they are, and send them a nice note about them, and I own them. That's how I've done it. I have no other skills. It's unbelievable. We're coming back right now. So,
okay, hold on.
My boss. And we're back. It's the Network Marketing Leadership Show with Tom Chenault and the wonderful Adrian, his little boy, Al Bala. Maybe. I mean, I don't know a CEO of a network marketing company better than Al Bala, and obviously his mentor. Now we have his secret weapon, Tony Jeary, and we are having a blast because we all think exactly alike, and we know how to change the world. And it's with remembering and love, not a bunch of whiz-bang click funnels that you just hate, and autoresponders and all the garbage getting jammed down your throat. People, look at people as human beings, not prospects. Figure out how you can leave them feeling better having met you than they did when they got there. Have them know that your Rolodex is open to them to serve them, and they subconsciously are going to do the same thing to you. That's what we're talking about right now. If you just tuned in, and it is life-changing. And if you don't know Lisa Grossman, that's how she lives her life. She does it intuitively, and that's what we do. That's what I want to be, Lisa Grossman and Tony Jeary, when I grow up. That's it. Take it.
So, Al, I want to ask you a question. So you've been working with Tony for many years. I know how intentional and how committed you are in pouring into your field and your leaders in your company, as well as into the industry with the DSA and everything you do. And so what does it look like you having these relationships with a coach like Tony and then translating that into results for the people that are actually building out and continuing to build out in the field, and you in many ways still build in the field, even as a CEO, but how do you push that downstream into your organization?
Well, we've done it in many ways. I mean, one of them is we actually brought Tony to our field. I mean, I think our field had a chance to actually experience Tony. I think we were in Hawaii. We were at your house when your studio was at your house. That was one of the ways we did that. I mean, we had a direct contact. But what Tony's been really instrumental in helping us, and I think we've done this at least 4 times in the last 13 years, is we sit down and we take 2 to 3 days to think together, and we do the strategic planning session. I am telling you, you've seen nothing like that. I mean, Tony is a master at moderating and getting the best out of everybody's mind. He's got a saying that says that thinking is hard, and it is, because all of us are always in the whirlwind. Is that the extra dollar you're giving me? Is that what you're saying?
I want everybody to know. So when Al brings his team here, if you're brilliant or you're funny or you give me a compliment, you get $1.
You get $1.
Here comes the dollar.
But I think the idea is that when we as a company we can think about where we are, where we want to be, and we can put that into a strategic plan that then can be executed. I think that's how we are helping the field, right? We're making sure that the company is really clear in what we're trying to create, and that we know how to sift through all the good ideas to get to a few great ideas. And then we are absolutely, resilient on staying on track to deliver that. I can still think of one strategic session that literally the next 3 years we didn't do nothing but those 5 or 6 things that we agreed to do in his studio. So how we get to be better and how we bring this to the field is by being able to execute, obviously knowing that everything we're trying to execute on is to help their business grow, which helps grow our business. And Tony does have a really good handle on network marketing and a channel. I mean, he's mentored some of the best. I mean, there's a long list of people, some of them who have been my mentors in the past, who have actually gone through this process with Tony. So anyways, I hope that answers that question. But for me is, if we're trying to create something that's going to bring growth to their business, that's how we're helping them. And it's also coming from a place of humility, of knowing that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the arrogance is, as a leader, when you think you really know, and it's being able to be humble enough, vulnerable enough to say, hey, we don't know everything. We're going to bring the right person. We're going to bring the right person in the mix to help us really bring the best out of us, so that eventually we create a plan that, when executed, will actually really help people, which, if we help our associates, we're helping our customers, we're helping families out there, we're helping the children that we support. All of that is all a byproduct of getting, again, I don't want to overdo it, but clarity, focus, and execution. That thing is just...
There's like an AI that just pans.
I love his remote camera.
It's a secret of just being able to deliver the best that you can for your people.
That is so funny. And for those of you listening on the radio, he has those words emblazoned in huge letters above his head. And so every time Al mentions it, he just tilts his camera up.
They were tattooed on my arm. Did you not know that, Adrian?
I didn't see it. Show me the guns. Let's see.
I did them in reverse, so that when you look in the mirror, it shows clarity, focus, and execution. So I'm brushing my teeth each morning. I'm just kidding.
I'd buy it.
We would not be surprised.
So, Tony, Doug asked a great question, so I'm going to relay it. What, you're working, you work with a lot of CEOs, and every one of those engagements is different, but that's maybe a little bit of a different category. When you drilled down that next layer and you're working directly with the field, when you're working with network marketing leaders, what are some key things that you're either key questions that you're asking or key messages that you're trying to impart to those people?
We just came out with this book. I flashed it a while ago, called Vibe, right?
Yep.
And what I'm constantly encouraging people to think about is, are you an energy bringer or are you an energy sucker? And so I believe if you really are a field person and you're sharing about your products or services and you bring energy into someone's life, that's a really, really powerful thing. People want to be around you versus want to suck energy. And, you know, we talk about in the book things like listening, like how many people like over talk. And in the book Vibe, we talk about, you know, a lot of energy comes from if you, and I know, Tom, you believe this inside and out, if you really care about someone and you listen and you take notes, that's powerful. And a lot of people don't do that. Simple thing today, right? You know, I was bragging on Al on the note taking. Remember Al about, was it 3 weeks ago when you had your team here?
Mm-hmm.
And you look down and Al as a CEO maybe is taking better notes than anybody in the room. Like he had 20 of his team members here and he's taking notes. And when you're taking notes, people see you're listening, you're smart, you're absorbing. And think about, Al, how many people in the field could really do what you do? You take notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like impressive when you show people you're listening, right? Think about it. Hey, look at that, right?
He's doing it now.
I'm taking notes right now.
Right. It's so, I mean, right. He can't even walk. He can't walk into a room without his pen in his hand. Look at
I
it.
love that.
He's got it right there, his pen. But I think a lot of people, Adrian, really need to think about that in the field. Like, you know, are you taking notes? Whether your notes are on an app, your app, whether your notes are on a pad. I mean, just taking notes are just so powerful. Listen
You
to
know,
people.
and when you know, people see you looking down at your phone or your notepad, and you say, I'm taking notes on what you're saying because I'm interested, it makes them feel remembered and better again. They don't know that you're walking out the door and piling it into your contact mapping app. So you've got it with you wherever you go, instead of being like poor Tony Jeary when he's walking to the Starbucks and people go, what's in that backpack? And he goes, that's my 38,000 contacts. And people are going, yeah, poor Tony. Yeah, we don't want that happening anymore. We're here to solve your problems. Yeah, so that's just plain cool.
It is. And you're right. One of my big mental images of Al is seeing him. You know, he's just that, you know, he's up there and he's got his notes and he does it. He embodies that and he has that energy of somebody who's always growing and learning. He's got that vibe. So I got to ask you.
That's right. The field can look at him, Adrian.
Squared. I want to know, Mr. Einstein, what's the equation behind this?
The vibe equation, Tony.
Oh, it's called energy equals results faster squared. So if you bring energy to the table, listening is one of the ways. In the book, we talk about 25 ways to bring energy to the table, to the relationships that you have. And whether you're a leader like Al, you know, how do you bring energy and have more of the results you want? You bring energy to your culture. And that's what we wrote the book for. We really wrote the book to help people go, oh, wow, I really need to be more intentional, if you will, about bringing energy to the table. People are attracted to energy. It's fine.
I think when I talked to you on the phone that day, you'd written 34 books and that book wasn't here yet. How many books you up to now?
67.
Oh my God. Well, I think my 34 number was wrong. Whatever it was. See what happens when you try to use
put one out a day, Tom. It could have been 30 days ago. We put one out a day, right, Al?
So Tony, where people are going crazy about that, and I love that concept of these, you know, these practical ways to create energy. Where can people go to get vibe and to just learn more about what you're up to?
Well, you know, we have 13 websites, Adrian, and each website has its own intentionality. Our primary website is just my name, TonyJeary.com.
Okay.
And it has cool shopping carts on it. And if you buy books on my site, I autograph them for you. So that's kind of cool. You can buy my books everywhere, but if you buy them somewhere else, you aren't going to get them autographed. If you don't care, buy them somewhere else. If you care, then you buy them from me. And we put a few sweeteners in. So thanks for letting me share that, TonyJeary.com. Can I talk a little bit about Al's boss?
Yeah, totally. So really quick, Jeary is Jeary. So TonyJeary.com. Go ahead.
Adrian, there's $1 for you for being brilliant.
So Al's got a boss?
It's the chairman.
Oh, okay, good. I thought Al was the boss. Holy, yeah, the chairman of the board.
And I go to Stan his boss about 4 months ago, and I said, you know, we've been friends for 20 years, and I so admire you as a person. He's been in the network marketing space how long, Al? 60 years?
65 years, maybe.
And I said, would you allow me to do a book on your life and all your lessons? And he's like, nah, no. I was like, do me a favor, just ask your kids. And he comes back and he's like, all of them were like, okay. And so we wrote a book that we're just about to be done with right now about Al's boss, who is right, Al, he's a phenomenal guy.
And my mentor as well, one of my mentors as well.
And what's so cool is that I get to coach people like Al and Stan, and I get to learn from them. And so we put together, like Tom, like 25 lessons of his life. So you get cool stuff about his life, but you get the lessons. Like, you know, I read Emmett Smith's book called Game On. And I was like, well, you know, I'm not a big, giant sports fan. Emmett's pretty incredible. Do I really want to read his history? But when I started realizing he took his book and chunked it into lessons, I thought, that's brilliant. Now I want to know about his life. So that's what we did with Stan's book, is we took his life and said, hey, he learned this lesson. He made this mistake, learn this. Made this win, learn this. And so I'm really happy to be able to plug his book today a little bit, Tom. I just
cool. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back right after this on the Network Marketing Leadership Show. Stick around.
Awesome.
How we doing, Adrian?
What's that?
We need more energy, more vibe.
Yeah, I'm about this. I think that's such a great concept, and I love that you chose to highlight listening, because I think, you know, so often vibe, you feel like you got to be talking to generate vibe. That's not true. So I love that there's maybe some counterintuitive or some surprising ways to do that are, those are those aha moments.
It's ahas. It exactly is. It's ahas. If you think about Stan, when Stan sits in a meeting, Al, doesn't he? He only speaks once every 30 minutes. Right?
But when he speaks,
he's like, well,
everybody listens.
You're like, wow. It's pretty good, right?
You know what? You know what's interesting is Stan walks around with this notebook as well, and he writes everything. Now, you know, if we could get him on contact mapping, that would be an amazing tool for him, because he writes everything, and he's probably got hundreds of those little books that he's written on for the last 60 years, and it's just a habit that I think is wonderful, and I'm glad you mentioned it, but. How great is it you have a tool that allows you don't have to write, you can speak into it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Adrian walked into this meeting this morning, and there was all kinds of people there. And he stood up and he said, you know, I just walked in the door. I haven't been here for a month. I walked in and I hit hashtag tabletop marketing. And everybody that ever showed up in any of those meetings were now on his screen with their faces. So he's looking at his phone and he sees the guy over there, and he just walks over and says, hi, Bill. And Bill swallows his cigar because he doesn't think he's ever seen Adrian in his life. But you can literally Google your brain, which nobody, you know, if poor Tony had to go through that box of 38,000 people to find Tom Chenault, he'd be out of his mind, because what do I spell it with a C or an S? Who is that guy? So it'd be a mess.
Yeah. Hey, how did you guys think of this? How did you get your MIT buddy and think of this? What's the backstory?
So cool little backstory. When we started this thing, I called my uncle, who was in the stock brokerage business, with him and told him about
this. Is Tom's brother.
My mom's brother, his ex-brother.
But is he as cool as Tom?
Not even close. Thank God he's not watching this. So I told him about it, and he goes, you know, Adrian, your dad taught me how to do what you just digitized in 1978 in the stock brokerage business. And we had a note card for every client, and we had a stack this tall of legal pads. And every time a client would call up, we'd grab the business card or the index card. It would say last call was on pad number 78, page 36, line 43. And they would scroll down there and they would go, oh, Tony, how you doing, man? You had lunch with Emmett Smith last time we talked. How about those Cowboys or whatever? And they would lose their mind. And so that genesis carried all the way forward through his whole career to build an organization of 7 figures of people in that organization because of that little idea. And we're going to go an extra 30 seconds on
Yeah,
this.
keep rolling.
So that's the power of what he has done. And he's done it a million different ways over the years. And I finally said, that's great. It is 100% your secret to success. But until we make it easy to put it in somebody else's hand so they can do what you do, it can't have the impact that we know this is capable of having. And that was how the idea for contact mapping was.
Duplicatable, right, Al? Duplicatable.
Duplicatable.
That's all
Absolutely.
it is.
Totally.
All right. And we're back. Oh, can I go? And we're back. It's the Network Marketing Leadership Show with Tom Chenault and his boss, Adrian Chenault, and Al Bala and Tony Jeary. And it is such a great day. And we've only got one segment left. And I want to, so you guys are the thought leaders. You're up there in your ivory tower. The field's not important anymore because you're figuring that all out. No, it's exactly the opposite. You guys work for the field. You live for the field. Ray Robbins, I call him on the phone. All he talks about is you two guys and how great you are. I talk to Sona. All I hear is how great you are. I talk to Joe B. Weeks, who's removed a little bit from your company. All he can do with his mom and his dad talk about how great you guys are because you truly care about everybody in your company and it emanates out of you. How important is that, Al Bala? I mean, it is all you. You travel 65 countries to make sure people know you love them. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, you are absolutely right. And, I think there's the old adage that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I think having walked in their shoes for 28 years, I have an empathy for what a network marketing goes through. And that empathy is what I bring to work every day and not only spread it into the field, but spread it into the company that we're part of and making sure that they all have that same, and they can learn to have that same empathy. Because, we started last year, we started the whole year with this philosophy, which is customer obsession. And when I say customer, I don't mean just the customer. The associate is also a customer. The distributor is a customer. The rep is a customer. And how can we create a culture of obsession for those people? And literally the last 18 months has been about driving that culture, because it's not just enough to have it. You got to turn it into a culture, because then, you need a team. You can go fast by yourself, but it takes a team to go far. And you got to bring it. It has to become a part of the culture that permeates then into the field, and people know you are authentic. That's why I love Mr. Richard Brooke, is because it's all about being authentic, and saying what you mean, meaning what you say, and just keeping it all about love, right? About caring and love and so on. So I don't know. I mean, that's just, having spent that much time in the field gives you that perspective, and that's the reason you do it. That's why you wake up every day. You're excited about doing it, is because the same impact that you had that was by someone bringing you into this is the kind of impact you want everybody else to have. So, and I'm sure, I mean, Tom, that's why you do what you do, right? That's why you love as much as you love, is because you understand everybody walks around with a lot of hurt, a lot of things, a lot of rejection, a lot of things have happened in their lives. We never know what's happening to somebody's life until we get as close as we do, and we have to appreciate and respect that, and hopefully leave everybody better than you found them. I mean, if there was a life philosophy, it would be leave them better than you found them. And if that's what we do every day, man, I can go to sleep and sleep well because I've done my job.
And what about you, Tony? You taught him that?
Well, the theme of caring, kind of rephrase what you want me to hit on, Tom. Is it really the essence of what we feel to be your best? I don't want to reword the question. I want to nail what you're asking.
I want to just let people know that I talk about the BLTs and tell people understand that they belong in your tribe, that you truly love them, that they can trust you, and that they're safe with you. They're just going to give you lip service. But if you can create a culture of those 4 things like you've done, you guys, all of a sudden people will walk off a cliff with you. And that's all I was trying to get to.
Love it 100%. Hey, I've got something, Tom, I'd like to share. I know we just have a few more minutes left on the whole remembering thing that connected you and I because of Al. I think this would be something I think would be valuable for your listeners, for our listeners today. And I had my team printed off. See what you guys think about this model. It says at the
it's upside down. There you go.
Might as well do it straight up, right? So when you first meet somebody and you read something, you get the short term. You ultimately want to get it to long term by using it. And then if you use it right, it becomes a habit. And then pretty soon it goes into your culture.
Amen.
And so I really believe that if you have that intentionality of really remembering things, pretty soon it's part of who you are. And think about what you've done, Tom, for so many years. You've created a habit out of being able to remember people, understand what's important to them. And collectively, the three of you guys have built a tool to help others do that same thing, where it could be in your habit. Like you walk away and you talk about what you remember, right? I mean, just it's so powerful if people put into their habits to really listen, to really take notes, to really care and connect the dots.
Yeah, and we train it daily to reinforce it until it becomes exactly what Tony and Al are talking about. You don't, an app's useless. Look at how many apps you aren't using in your phone. Until you develop the muscle, you are dead in the water, and we're not going to leave you, even though that's exactly right. Even though it's free, we live with you until you've got that muscle developed, unless you don't want us, but you're going to want us. So I love you, Tony. I love you, Al. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. We've got about 30 seconds left, Adrian.
I just love these guys. And Al, you know, where you spread so much positivity in the world. I know we pointed them to where they can find Tony, but where's the best place for people to connect with what you're doing out in the world? Because you inspire so many people way beyond your company.
Well, right now it'd be just my Facebook page, either Mannatech CEO Facebook page or Alfredo Bala or Al Bala. I end up having 3 or 4 just to be able to get everybody, but and check me out on your page because I'm there all the time as well. So
that's awesome.
We love you.
All right, love you guys. Thank you. You've done something fabulous to change the world, and I'm proud to be a part of that team to express this to the world.
Okay, we got a free business card for you. What's that website?
If you go to contactmapping.com/bizcard, you are going to be blown away by what you get there. So go and check that out. BIZCARD, contactmapping.com/bizcard.
Okay.
The problem with having a MIT PhD, every day I turn around, there's something cooler coming. I love all of you. See you all next week. Thanks for being on the show.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Bye-bye.